The Infinity Stones. Space, reality, soul, mind, and time. These powerful gems were one of the most sought weapons. That is, until Iron Man snapped them out of existence. While the stones might have been erased from the face of the galaxy, they did, however, leave parts of themselves across the universe living inside sentient beings. Wanda Maximoff, or the Scarlet Witch, is one of those powerful people we call a Nexus Being. In today's MCU video, I will explain the nature of Nexus Beings, how they are connected to the multiverse, and finally discuss who amongst the MCU are actually Nexus Beings.
I'm not what you say I am.
While WandaVision was filled with red herrings, leading us mere viewers to fall into some theory traps, some hints that were hiding in plain sight might actually have foreshadowed one thing or two for the future of the MCU. Let's rewind the tape a little and go back to episode 7's glorious 2000-inspired episode, and more particularly, that one weird ad for a product named Nexus. During the 40-second fake commercial, a sad-looking woman is prescribed antidepressants by a doctor we don't see, before she's handed a pack of Nexus pills by a pharmacist. The whole scene is bathed in the Scarlet Witch's trademark deep red color. While the ads and the reality Wanda created for Westview rarely seem to cross,
husbands can use it too, you know.
We can see Wanda take a few pills from a pills box sharing the same colors. As the show reminded us in episode 8, Wanda's powers were to some extent manufactured by Hydra through the use of the Mind Stone. But according to Agatha Harkness, her magical powers were there all along, waiting to be awakened. So Hydra might not have been the pill that pushed her powers to manifest faster, but Agatha was the one unleashing the true power of the Scarlet Witch by wanting to absorb her in the first place. Why did she do it? We don't really have an answer so far, besides the fact that she wanted power. And talking about power, did you notice how her purple-hued magic was the exact same color as the Power Stone? While this might be a bit of a stretch, that same color can be seen in Agatha's flowers, just in front of her house, while Wanda's were red, just like her powers and the Reality Stone. These specific colors that can be found in magic and other elements might point out the fact that the Infinity Stones were not actually erased from existence, but transformed. After all, can infinity be destroyed with a single snap? I think not. The stones might be gone, but the things they represent are still a part of the cosmos, and it seems they're being reborn in the form of sentient beings, or Nexus Beings. What does it actually mean to be a Nexus Being?
I'm not a witch. I don't cast spells.
While, like everything Marvel Comics, there are various versions of it. The MCU is building its very own universe inspired by the comics. So for now, let's take a look at what we can find from the pages of the comic books, and maybe it'll help us figure out where Phase 4 is really going. So Nexus Beings are quite rare, and are believed to be scattered across the dimensions. They're so powerful that they have the ability to alter the universal time stream flow by affecting the future. According to Marvel lore, there should only be one Nexus Being per parallel worlds, which means that in the case of MCU's Earth Nexus Being, it would be the Scarlet Witch. This means that she would act as the anchor or focal point to that reality, which is a bit worrying after all that went down in Westview.
No one's ever seen anything like it.
Now, another rule states that two Nexus Beings cannot exist on the same plane of reality, unless the other Nexus Being travels there as an apparition. In the post-credits scene of WandaVision's emotional finale, it seems Wanda is opening doors to the multiverse while searching for her kids, and might have just found the path to the dimension they're being held prisoner. Now, she could astral project to that dimension, and if we're lucky, not cause too much damage, but given the name of the Doctor Strange sequel in The Multiverse of Madness, something tells me she'll fly right through and cause more havoc than she ever did before. What would happen if two Nexus Beings appear in the same plane, you think? The definition of Nexus Beings is not set in the stone. And like many other things, the MCU might just offer us its own twist on the subject. While the definition I gave earlier will most probably be what we'll get from the next films, Nexus Beings have always been described as beings who exist in every conceivable timeline. While the various Spider-Men are on their way for Spider-Man No Way Home, having more than one Scarlet Witch seems unlikely. One of the most obvious Nexus Beings who will appear in Phase 4 is of course Kang the Conqueror, set to appear in one way or another in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. The supervillain's role as a Nexus Being might explain how he can not only time travel, but can journey across multiple dimensions with ease. A showdown between the Scarlet Witch and Kang would eventually lead to something quite epic in the scale of the battle for Earth, but tenfold, and across the multiverse. While I might dress a list of potential Nexus Beings in a later video, let me end by proposing one final theory. Spider-Man is one of them.
Historic.
In a dimension called Earth 772, Spider-Man is part of a group of heroes called the Fantastic Five, which includes the original four, plus Peter Parker. This could mean Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield might arrive in the MCU as a Nexus Being, and taking into account that a Fantastic Four film is in the works for Phase 4, everything seems to be pointing towards that way. With more and more powerful characters joining the MCU, we might finally see a bit more of Captain Marvel, as the arrival of Nexus Beings might just be the opportunity to level the field and provide Carol Danvers with worthy opponents.